bring this meeting to order for the Town of Brunswick Planning Board for August 17th, 2023. If everybody please rise to the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, our agenda this evening is as follows. Number one, Hart waiver of subdivision. Applicant seeks to subdivide 3.30 acres from the 10.74 acre parcel to create a new residential lot at the end of Langmore Lane. Michael Hart is the applicant, and that is our agenda. We do have some new business and probably some old business to discuss. Our formal agenda is just the one item tonight. First on our business schedule is to review the minutes of our past meeting on August 3rd. Has everybody had an opportunity to review those? Are there any questions, comments, amendments, changes? Okay, hearing none, I'll make a motion that the minutes be accepted as they have been submitted.
Second.
There's a second. All those in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, right to our agenda, the Hart waiver of subdivision. How are you tonight?
Good, yourself?
Good.
All right, my name is Jacob Keesby. I work with Brian Holwitter. I'm a land surveyor and engineer. This is the proposed subdivision. This is the 3.3 acres at the end of Langmore Lane. The intention is to include a piece of frontage for Mr. Hart's current residence, and then there's also frontage for the 3.3 acre lot. And then there will also be an easement retained by Mr. Hart in perpetuity for ingress and egress over this driveway, which kind of crosses the line in between the two lots. Mr. Hart currently accesses his home and will continue to access his home from Langmore Lane on this side.
It seems to me like we did have some questions on this when we reviewed it under new business in our last meeting. Is there some wetlands in that one driveway? Is a pond indicated?
Yeah, that is not considered a wetland. It's a part of this drainage easement. It's really just a part of a wetland, not a wetland, but a drainage mitigation tool.
So you're implying that even though there is access to, I'm going to say this partial cul-de-sac down here at the end of Langmore Lane, that the person who would be purchasing or the lot number 5 would have access, but that they would not use that access. They would have an easement on the other side. Is that correct?
The proposed driveway shown would be how they would access the parcel.
I think the question I had is that a legitimate I don't want to put access to a public road with a detention area in the middle of it?
There's actually enough room to drive around that detention pond.
Okay,
We just moved over just to kind of keep it away from the wetlands. You can see the wetlands are on the buffer line, it's shown on there.
yeah. I mean, if you were to sell lot 5, would that be an option that the person buying that lot could access there?
Yeah, they could. I've driven around it 100 times with my tractor
You would go between the pond and the swamp?
Yeah. Yeah. There's actually, like I said, it's not really a driveway, but there's a lane there that goes through that
Pond Road?
I usually brush out once a year or twice a year.
How long is the proposed driveway gonna be?
Into that lot, depends on where they put the house, but it'll be long.
Well, when you get 150 feet, everything changes depending on how long it is and how far back in you're putting the house. As far as pull-offs for fire companies and
Pull off for a fire company would be a 400 feet, wouldn't it?
3.
For 3, is it 3?
Then you're at 265 when you change the angle, so it's gonna be probably at least 3. So if you're saying you can get around the pond and on the south side of that pond, but then you're in the wetland buffer.
Yeah, the intention of the driveway would be to limit the disturbance
Right.
in that wetland buffer.
See that right there? That's the only spot that's,
How wide is that spot according to the scale?
Should be 50 scale. 20 inches.
50 feet, that looks like maybe a quarter of an inch at best. So you're talking
12 feet.
12 feet?
Not enough for that.
between that buffer and the pond?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know.
And
I can't tell you if that
And
pond
if
is.
that driveway is over so many feet, it's gotta be a 16-foot driveway with 2-foot shoulders, I believe, isn't it?
I think that was the
20.
intention of Brian putting the driveway over here, is to avoid all that completely.
Well, I believe the policy of the board is you have to be able to establish a driveway on your land, regardless of what kind of agreement you come up with.
Always move the pond.
I don't know, I mean,
It was created, when we did this, even before Joey got his lot. That pond was there, so it could be here, it could be anywhere. It's just,
where's
really
it
to slow down the water.
coming from where?
This thing is piped all the way through here back to here. So when we built this originally, they put a swale in here, collect any water runoff, because the neighbors down here were concerned about water runoff. I remember we had an engineering study done, they said post-development was negligible, it wasn't measurable, and it would be less than pre-development, which was a cornfield. So they put in all that drainage, ran it out here, there's a catch basin right here on Joey's property, and then it goes back in here, and we created a pond. In the bottom of the pond, I think there's a 4-inch pipe or whatever, if the thing ever fills up with water.
Where does that go?
That, I think, just goes out here in that direction.
Probably goes into the wetlands. Now, if you were to have topo on this, as you go north, it goes uphill.
Yeah. Yeah, so
So,
this drops off.
so you really, I guess you could push the pond, west, I guess, a little bit.
Yeah, there's all kinds of room that way. The only reason it wound up where it was, that was kind of the closest spot in line here back.
I'm just trying, we're just trying to figure out whether technically you still have access to this lot with this pond now, or whether you actually,
Even with the permanent easement?
Yeah, so the issue here is the required frontage on the approved public road in order to get a building permit. And certainly the board has applied that in a way to say that access has to be viable.
Yep.
So they've dealt with things like steep slopes, in this case, it's a pond, drainage, or wetland area. Even if you're using, whether it's an easement over someone else's, a common driveway, the lot itself, if there's a problem in the future using the easement, has to have viable, usable frontage on an approved public road to get a driveway in the future.
Right.
So I think that's what the board
I think that's
is
what-
now.
Why Brian, because originally I was just gonna have him take that we don't use that for anything, of course. And he's like, now you gotta have road frontage, because I don't have road frontage here.
Yeah.
So that's not a public road. So that was, Brian told me, well, you gotta divide that up and whatever.
But he was correct on that, in order to keep that frontage for the
Yeah.
lot, to make it
To make my lot basically legal.
legal, in order to issue a building permit if you wanted to do anything in the future, and to issue a building permit for your new proposed lot.
Right.
Would need frontage.
The 12-inch ADS pipe that's running out of that pond, or running to the pond, which is it, running to the pond or away from the pond? To the pond. So that catch basin, is that in the road?
Catch basin is on Joey's property right here.
No, we're
No,
talking
it's
about the
another
lower
one.
one, the 12-inch.
Is that a
Down
town,
below.
is that a town catch basin?
The one that doesn't have the drainage easement.
Down below, at where that loop starts, or that round part starts.
To tell you the truth, I don't really know anything about that.
Do you have any problem with owning half of Joe's driveway and 3/4 of his shed?
It's not a shed, it's a garden.
Well, depending
No,
on what he's producing on that 3/4 there, you have the right to it.
Yeah. No, they're good people.
I understand that, but don't you think that ought to be changed? Because you own the guy's driveway. I mean, something may happen to you and someone else come in that's not, not too awful nice to him and could take half his driveway.
Again, like. I'm not gonna ask the guy to move his driveway.
No, you'd need to remove your property line. What you would do, you would have to deed him that property.
The other issue, if he does that, then he decreases the width of his access for C2, because then he'd have to move that property line over so many feet to give him his driveway.
Yeah, that would work.
How wide are those driveways under that town road?
The access points, the frontage,
Yeah,
they're each a little over 30 feet.
what's it, 15?
Let me ask,
So you need 15 feet,
15 feet.
That's correct.
so you could realign them.
we're just trying to figure out what if.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Let me ask Andy something here. We have a situation here where the property line for the existing lot does go on this neighbor's driveway. However, the waiver only pertains to lot 5, right?
Correct.
Because it's shown on this map, is this a map that shows some type of infringement on
Encroachment.
encroachment? Didn't we run into this situation
With Don Fain.
with we did with Cronow.
Over.
Oh, that's true, yeah, with Cronow, man.
Right, but those is where he would, all of the proposed lots were new. We were creating a building lot over which there was an existing, at least according to the survey, encroachment.
Yeah.
This, on lot 1, Mike's lot, there's no change. We're just dividing off lot 5 from his existing lot.
Okay,
That encroachment is an existing condition on his existing property.
okay,
So I do see a difference on that. You're
okay.
not creating a new building lot on which
I just
the
thought,
encroachment exists.
I just thought,
It would be appropriate to note when you are ready to act on this, that the board is in no way approving an encroachment on lot 1. That's an existing condition. That's a private matter as of between those lot owners.
well, let me put it a different way. If we're talking about lot 5, we're talking about a waiver, and he has access to Langmore Lane. Is the explanation of acceptable access with this pond in the wetlands border Is that something we can approve the way it is here?
And as we sit here right now, I didn't know that issue was there. I must say, I don't know the answer to that. I know certainly for a legal buildable lot, it needs 15 feet of frontage. This is under the town law, and the basis for that section of the law is you've got to have safe and adequate emergency access to the lot.
Yeah.
And I don't know the answer if there are current conditions that would impair the ability to get a driveway in it. They could be changed in the future, I understand that, but the current conditions don't allow for that. I don't know the answer to that, I've not dealt with it before. It's worth looking at, because it could potentially give rise to certain, or at least the board could consider certain conditions attached to any action on this, to that access. And while we're talking about the access, the one other issue I would like to look at is, I'm presuming you put the radius of the road here in some kind of describe. I know that this is a deeded roadway. Did you use the deed to draw out kind of the arc of that end of Langmore where the proposed driveways are?
There was a survey done prior to this.
Yep.
And that, on that survey, you based that on, which is
I
what the
get that.
description for his current lot is from.
When Joey bought this property,
Yes,
this road came down and it's square.
yeah.
So they changed that,
What's out there right now in the
just what you see
field?
in this field?
I mean, is it, no, right here. It is that a full cul-de-sac or no?
No, that's just what you see.
Yeah, and there's the issue I want to look at. You see the road coming off, I'm presuming the end of Langmore is paved?
Yeah.
And then it just terminates, right?
Correct.
There's a gore between that and where the new lot would start. I know that that's where the current driveway exists, but that's town-owned property.
This little spot.
And so you're creating a new lot. Granted, it's on town-owned property, but it's not on an improved portion of the lot. I don't know that that's an issue, but I want to, quite frankly, confirm that. This is not unusual, right, where the town has a deeded road,
I see.
and it has, I've got the deed, and Jacob, I'm gonna give it to you to take a look at, just to confirm. But the road is not improved within that full deeded area. It's not a full paved cul-de-sac, according to the description. It just terminates, and it creates that gore. So you put in, it may exist already, but let's presume lot 5 has to put in a driveway. You're putting it over town-owned property, a private driveway over town-owned property. I just want to make sure that
Isn't that normal, like, within the right of way?
The driveway is always connected within the right of way.
it is, but it's always connected to the improved portion of the roadway. This would not be.
But this is a connection at the end, which would, I guess I'm,
Oh, I see what you mean, that isn't it usual that the right of way goes into someone's front yard?
Is
That's
that,
a fair point.
and just as I was saying, shown on the previous survey, we calculated that curve, and that's what his deed description is from, so that, from
So
his,
that, the current map accurately describes what the
Accurate.
town owns there and what the radius is. Okay.
so you just like.
So the issue, you're correct, the issue about the gore may not be an issue. It does have frontage on town-owned right-of-way, it may not be direct frontage onto the improved portion, but you'd be going over.
10 foot.
I get that, I would like to look at that, but I get that issue. But the other issue is, given the current conditions there, does that qualify as an approvable lot? The answer may well be yes, but as I sit here right now, I don't know the answer to that.
It could be possibly a stipulation that the lot has to have a minimum of 15-foot driveway, right? Okay.
Something like that, we'll have to look at that. Well,
15, you want 15-foot driveway
I'm
for
hesitant,
safety vehicles.
I'm hesitant to say, because when a driveway may be built in 10 or 15 years when a problem arises, the regs might be different, fire code requirements might be different, so it might give rise to a condition that it has to comply with town driveway specs of the New York State Fire Code, something like that, but the threshold issue is, given current conditions, is it an approvable lot, does it comply with that section of the town law?
So you're gonna look into that,
I will.
okay?
There's another manhole in front of C1. With no piping and no, is that storm sewer in there? Actually, there's one in front of the T intersection of Langmore.
I think there's storm water throughout that whole development that has never been hooked up when they built it.
So those manholes actually there?
It could be,
The manholes are there, but we don't believe they're being used.
the whole development was,
So there's no piping in
there may be piping, but it doesn't go anywhere.
it? Really? But yet, just the catch
It could have
basin-
even been set up for sanitary at some time, I don't know, but
But if I recall, when Tommy was doing his, or his daughter, I can't remember which one, we had a lot of problems with drainage at the end of that road.
not at the end of that road.
Well, we had issues with the drainage at the end of that.
I think any drainage issues were probably over here, not here.
They had a lot of trouble with drainage issues in there, because the
Yeah.
water was staying in the streets instead of shedding off.
I mean, somebody put that catch basin in front of Tommy for a reason, so there must have been an issue with water there, right?
Well, what they wanted to do is the water coming down off the hill, because he's up on top of the hill, so they created a swale in here and, or whatever piping over that way.
Yeah, but wouldn't that drainage easement in the back catch anything coming down the hill? Why would you need one in both locations? They're kind of one in front of the other.
Joey's property is flat and then it drops down to here. So it's not gonna drain back to that.
Right, but that top drainage ditch,
There's no water coming off of that, I can guarantee you that.
well, I'd like to get more information on that, whether or not the town maintains that catch basin, and if so, you know, do we have an issue with maintaining that? If you're gonna put your driveway over that, that's all I'm concerned about. You have to move that pond, put affect that catch basin, and ultimately,
I'm telling you, that drainage does not go on my property at all. Absolutely does not.
well, there's a pipe that runs to the pond, correct?
You're talking about this one?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. That could be. I don't think you have to move that.
I'm just saying, if you have to move the pond and create a driveway over that drainage pipe, you have to somehow still maintain that.
Yeah, you'd have to extend the pipe.
Yeah, well, I think the town should be involved in that, what I'm saying, we gotta get the water department, maintenance department involved with that.
There's no easement for that pipe if you're talking a 12-inch ADS. We have the easement on the upper section, but there's no drainage easement on the 12-inch. And I was asking Bill Bradley about that, and he didn't know anything about that either. Just like you, Mr. Hart, said you didn't know anything about the 12-inch, so.
I don't know anything about what was well. You know, like, I don't know.
On that C2 access, if you had to in the future, somebody wanted, is it 15 feet from the edge of Mussolini's driveway to C1 minimum?
By eye, yeah, it's all of that.
Well, it's a scale of 1 inch to 50 feet, so I think it's like half an inch across now.
Yeah.
So it's probably two 25-footers, C1 and C2, it's about 25.
These are
No,
30.
I'm thinking if they come back in and
30 feet.
Mussolini wants you to heck up his driveway, is there room to have the 15 feet for the driveway?
Yes.
That arc is 30 feet. That little bit of driveway, just by looking at that, is less than.
Could you put a number on that?
What's that?
You're gonna come back, we're not gonna prove this tonight. Could you put a number on that, how
The distance between the driveway and the edge of
The radius is C1 and
the
C2.
driveway and the edge of C1?
they're both labeled in the bottom left-hand corner in a tall table.
That's 25 feet from here to that, from Joey's driveway to that property corner.
I'm not worried about Joey's driveway, I'm worried about from the edge of Joey's driveway to C1, it's 25 feet.
I got 31.52, like you said in the chart.
Yeah. If you scale,
Just want to make
that's a
sure
half
that
inch.
It's tough when
We
you
got it.
measure
Jordy's
out.
driveway doesn't come 15 feet into that, right into that 30-foot section.
Okay,
So there's still another, there's more than 15 feet if we had to move down.
okay. That's all. I just don't want to get down the road and have,
I understand what you're saying.
About 25.
my wife never gets it. This is an old cow pasture in a swamp.
So Randy, we have to hold off until you can determine whether.
I'd like to look at that. It probably makes sense, since Wayne is not here, that allow Wayne to comment this. I know this came in last meeting, and if Wayne's got any issue.
There was an earlier comment from Kevin about
Yep.
possibly getting Bill Bradley involved with this 12-inch.
I ran it by him already. He didn't know anything about that 12-inch line.
It's all right for us to go out on your property?
Fine. The dogs are up, further up the hill in the invisible fence.
They know about that.
What dogs? They were here this morning.
All right, then, why don't we find out some answers there? Obviously, we can't do any action on it tonight, but we'll put you on our agenda for our next meeting. Hopefully, we'll have the answers for that.
Is that like a public hearing next meeting?
There's no public hearing
All
involved,
right.
unless you want one.
I'm open to the public.
See what your neighbors think of you.
No, for a waiver, there's no public.
It's a huge septic.
So,
It's a huge
as
septic.
soon as we find out that answer from
There's no-
Andy,
It's a weekend, like play and-
I hope there's a resolution to this and we can move forward.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a cow pasture.
I think if there's any questions,
Tried to go corner.
you can contact Andy.
The same as,
Lane isn't here tonight, but he's also available.
what's his name's development over
All
there.
right, so we'll put you on the agenda for our next meeting, which is
In that ground, it was horrible.
September,
7th.
I do this all the time.
7th, I believe.
7th is the first Thursday?
Yep.
Okay, I'm gonna take your word for it.
Yeah, the
Do you have any other questions for us?
month starts on a Friday.
I don't.
I can't think of anything off the top of my head. Appreciate the time. And look forward to hearing back from Andy about what he finds. And I'm gonna do a little research about as far as building in that 100-foot buffer for a driveway, what the rules are. There's certain stipulations where if you don't disturb a certain amount of square footage, you can build a driveway, and that might open up enough room.
It may. Mike, you know if that's a state regulated wetland?
Yeah.
It's a state rate, yeah. I think what
So-
they plotted though, that's the 100-foot buffer.
Yeah.
So at most,
It must be.
yeah,
They
at
have
most,
different rules. I think what you're getting at is for federal wetlands, there are nationwide permits dealing with the amount. There's unfortunately no such program with state wetlands. So if you're disturbing within the buffer, you probably still need a wetlands.
Is that wetlands, this may sound like a stupid question,
wet
change, no, does it change? I mean, we ran into a situation years ago on Langmore Lane where we approved a lot, a house to be put on there. And the beavers at the far end of this wetlands blocked it up. And when DEC came back, looked at it, it was only 60 feet from the house.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether that's moved or,
What I can tell from the state, which is the state, if you were to do work within the buffer, you have to notify them, and they'll come out and take a look. And, you know,
It's a little more involved than,
what I'm saying is, you're not working within the wetlands, it's within the 100-foot buffer.
Caliban put a
We-
driveway in a 100-foot buffer, wanted to put a driveway in a 100-foot buffer, and it took them a year to get
Yeah.
permission.
the parking lot of Harbor Freight encroached into the buffer and they were not required to, not allowed to put in blacktop, actually had to put in pervious pavers in that section, in that 100-foot buffer.
Sounds to me like we moved the pond into be a lot easier. It's not a pond like,
Yeah, I know.
water sprouts.
It's just,
It's a
an area.
retention basin, that's what it is.
All right.
David,
So,
did you want me
I
to
guess
give
we're all
the-
set. We'll see you on the 7th.
Do you want me to give the copy of the
Thank you very
deeds to?
Okay, thank you.
It's all set.
Okay.
Okay, that completes our formal agenda. Moving over to new business. We have one.
That would be
new
me.
business. Is this you?
Yeah, that's me.
Okay.
I want to put a kitchen in over the garage in my daughter's, where my daughter's living.
Okay.
Nope.
No, can't
See,
do
that
it.
was easy. There's a, I want to say an apartment up there, bathroom, bedroom, living room, a couple closets, and she is a mentally disabled girl, and we would like to try out the kitchen with her here while she's living with us, her own kitchen, and see how that goes, to see what skills we need to work on.
Okay.
It's all, I plumbed and wired it when I did it in 2011, so construction-wise, I could probably get a final plumbing permit or something like that for the hooking up the appliances.
Do we need any type of drawing to show egress and so forth and so on?
I looked for the prints that I had submitted, and I couldn't find them. So I'll see what I can find in my house. But there are 2 points of,
You
there are,
did submit a print, but it's not in the packet because you couldn't find it.
oh, no, the prints I submitted when I did the house in 2011, when I did this in 2011. I did
Okay.
the original renovation in 08, and then I did this portion of it in 2011.
Okay.
And I didn't find, when I went down the archives and looked in the envelope, there was no drawings there, so I'm gonna see what I can find at the house, and if I can't recreate them. There are 2 points of egress, one into the main house and the second one down the stairs.
I think I'd be more comfortable if there was at least some type of drawing
Okay,
for the record, show that.
I will dig that up.
So are we approving an apartment?
It would be considered an accessory apartment at that point, because it would be a kitchen.
Never approved before.
Because it never had a kitchen. So,
So
my son was out there because he was the drummer, so I tried to get him as far away as possible.
So correct, this would be kind of reviewing it as an accessory apartment, a special use permit.
Public
And
hearing.
it will have a public hearing. Yeah.
See your friend.
So you can get us a drawing by our next meeting, and then we can schedule the public hearing.
If I have to draw it myself.
Okay. And we will do so. We'll put you on the agenda. Is that it for new business?
And that is it.
Okay, old business, just want to review a couple things. We do have the Golden Grain Pizza on the agenda for the 7th also. They're coming back with a revised parking sketch, hopefully. We did get some information on the Release News LLC as far as lead agency. We did receive we received something from DEC. Basically, they referred to us as the lead agency. They didn't have a problem with it. There was no objection. We also received from the Rensselaer County Economic Development and Planning. And they said that they were not an involved agency under seeker, so
They're correct on that. The coordination notice went out to involved and interested agencies, so everyone knows what the proposal is.
Yep.
the county planning agency is interested, they can't legally be the lead agency as they're not involved.
Yep.
So I acknowledge Linda's. Yeah, she's
Okay. And who else are we waiting for?
As I sit here right now,
DOT?
I can't, well, there were several that it went out to. So it's this board, the zoning board, DEC, DOT, county health department, separate from the county planning department. And as I sit here right now, I don't have that in front of me. I think those were involved agencies. There's a number of interested agencies that I went to as well.
And we're on the clock with this for 30 days.
We are. It did go out, and again, as I sit here, I don't know. We're well into the 30-day period. It may have expired. It certainly will expire before the September 7th.
Okay. And that's when we'll officially declare ourselves lead agency.
You would be allowed to do that if you choose to do that at the meeting.
So if we didn't want to do that?
It's a procedural issue. You can do it now, you can do it later.
Just saying.
That's correct. That's,
Okay.
you control the procedure, Russ.
Okay, so they are also on the agenda for the Senate.
They wanted to infiltrate their stormwater under the parking lot, so Bradley doesn't want them to do that.
I don't know if they'll be able to with that water table that's there.
That's what Bill Bradley said.
It's an issue that has to be looked at. You're correct, Dave. Yeah. Bill does sit as the town's stormwater officer, so he will have to ultimately sign off on the required approval, the notice of intent to comply with the state stormwater permit for construction, and so they'll have to work through that with Bill.
In connection with that, we did get the independent traffic study.
We did not receive it yet. Wayne told me it was completed, but I
We did not receive it.
have not received it yet. As soon as I receive it, I'll send it to you guys.
Okay, and that will be reviewed at the meeting that is on Senate also. Okay. The only other thing I have under old business, I'm trying to figure out where it's going, is the Courier site plan.
Yeah.
Special use permit. What is the reason for all these delays?
Still have not received anything on the septic system. I don't know why. I thought the study had been done, they cambered it, and I don't know what the holdup is unless there's possibly not one there.
Similar decided this is a very site issue with that.
Well, I don't think it's the idea, I think the location may not be the thing which does well. Okay, so I don't think there's anything else under old business or anything that we have to report. Does anybody have anything under old business that they're curious about or that I'm missing?
It's not old business, but what are they doing on Route 7 up above 278? Callahan's all over the place. They got all kinds of construction signs on all the side roads. All kinds of spray paint on the ground. They're jackhammering up the top culverts. I don't know if they're gonna pave it or
Yep.
Emil.
I would assume they're gonna pave it.
That's what I mean, one day I think they're gonna paint it, and the next day I think they're gonna pave it. But then I think they're gonna
278.
pave out to the shoulders.
It's not in that bad condition, is it?
Yeah.
It is.
Oh, yeah, you sit in my parents' house and the windows rattle and the trucks go by.
Really? Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it's the worst one there is, but Tidebush Lane was a lot better than that, but that's not a state road.
I have just a quick question in regards to the motorcycle accident recently when the person got killed on Route 7. What kind of an impact is this going to have on the traffic studies and so forth? So, will it?
It's a good question. Yeah. I don't know the particulars of that accident.
I'm sure the public hearing is going to be brought up. Somebody will.
Where did he get killed?
It was by the pond.
At the end of McChesney Avenue to the other end by one end. I guess he's
Nine tractors.
the way I understand it, he worked for BMW motorcycle. He came out and then went east on Route 7. And somebody came out of that to McChesney Avenue intersection and hit it. Yes.
You said the end of that McChesney Avenue and it's a blind.
Yeah, it's blind.
It's not enough stuff.
It's so blind that sometimes the sheriffs will stay in the middle lane and target somebody coming out east for speeding.
Those guys are getting, they were sitting in the Masonic Temple, catch speeders on Route 7. They were backed in someplace there. It's like, holy shit. It was down here someplace. They were backed way in. But when somebody gets killed, there's a bad accident, they show up for 5-6 weeks and then they go to the next one.
Okay, just to review quickly the agenda, I believe there's 4 items on the agenda. There is Maria's Muse, or we'll call it Chick-fil-A. We also have the Golden Grain Pizza, we have Hart, and we have Mr. Golden. So there's 4 items on our agenda. Does anybody have any questions on that? Okay, if there's no other further business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion. Second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you.
Russ, if you're not opposed, maybe put Hart first, so we're not sitting around through
Yeah,
more.
yeah, absolutely.
discussion.